Good morning, party people. Welcome to a sick and twisted Wednesday edition of SJU. We're talking Spiral, Jigsaw Killer, and the comedic stylings of Chris Rock. We're also talking about the new Bad Batch trailer dropped. We've got some movie dates shuffling around per usual. There's a play based on Game of Thrones. Oy. But here to unpack it all, I'm here with Lon Harris and Eric Goldman. How you guys doing? Happy Wednesday to y'all.
Happy Wednesday. I was excited to see the Game of Thrones show. They're referring to it as a spectacular, which I associate with. They did.
No.
They did. They did. Which I always associate with Universal Studios. It was like, is this going to be like the Waterworld action spectacular?
If it's a stunt spectacular, I'm so in. Yeah.
I want to see that Miami Vice stunt spectacular on Broadway, baby.
The Waterworld show, which is still going, which is wonderful. Good stuff.
I love the Miami Vice show and the Waterworld show. They're on the same stage and they have the same climax.
The same boat, the same biplane. Yeah,
a biplane comes over the building and
it's not as many white linen suits in the Waterworld
Right.
one. But we're not here to talk about white linen suits and Don Johnson. We're here to talk about Spiral. Spiral, the first trailer for the Saw franchise spinoff, starring Chris Rock and Sam Jackson. This has been delayed.
From Darren Lynn Bozeman.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Director of Saws 2 through 4. Also.
Yep. Oh, nice. All right. Well, this is a long delayed movie. Now will come out May 14th, allegedly, in theaters, allegedly. If you saw the trailer, it follows Zeke Banks, played by Chris Rock, and his police veteran father, played by Sam Jackson, and his rookie partner, not the Hunger Games, but it's bad for women. It's a dystopia.
Divergent.
The what's that?
The
Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid's Tale.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. That's where I know him from.
Okay.
Max Minghella.
Okay, right. Art School Confidential could have gone with that one.
There you
Wasn't
go.
he in
But
Social Network, son of director
Social Network
Anthony
too.
Minghella.
Yeah.
Wow,
There you go.
nepotism run amok. So Jigsaw's back. Everyone remains incredibly sweaty. This must be during a power outage or something because man, there are some shiny faces. But we got a full new trailer for it. Did you guys watch it? What'd you think?
I mean, I have a lot of a weird affection for this series because there's some I really like. There's some I thought were awful. I did enjoy that time when we were just getting a Saw movie every year because it was just it's a strange time, right? If it was Halloween, it must be Saw. So I'm up for this return of it with some kind of a bigger name cast. It is kind of funny to see that they Samuel Jackson in a Saw movie is not something I would have guessed around Saw 5. But I'm up for it. I mean, the only thing that I think is funny is I remember they kind of were saying, "Oh, this one really focuses on the cops." I'm like, well, a lot of the old ones focus on cops
They
too.
literally all focus on cops.
Yeah, so I thought that was
All
a
of them.
strange. Like, this is a new spin on it.
Not Carrie Elways, right?
No, not the
but
first one. Not
Danny
the first
Glover.
one.
No, Danny Glover.
Yes,
He is a cop on the outside.
There's
Yeah.
a prominent cop storyline in the first one, but
Yeah.
2 and on, they're basically all the main characters are
Right.
cops or jigsaws. Like those are the only characters.
But I'm into it. And I was like, ooh, a photo of John Kramer where they showed a quick glimpse of
Yeah.
Tobin Bell via photo.
Oh.
I'm- I'm also pretty excited for this. I like the Saw movies, and I think the one thing as a 2021 viewer going back and watching the Saw movies is that they're so just stylistically and visually of their moment, and it was not necessarily a great moment. So they feel dated now. A lot of the not one. James Wan I think made a little bit more of a timeless sort of thing, but the 2, 3, 4, and then especially into the sequels, it just feels out of time. And so to see a movie with this premise and concept but made in a more modern sensibility, I think that sounds real good to me. Let's do it.
Yeah, it seemed like they kind of meshed a more contemporary style with the old school, overly elaborate death traps. I mean, it seemed like some guy was in all sorts of little pincher things, but also there was a subway car heading towards him, so it kind of doesn't matter what else you're going to do to the guy when
You gotta
when you're
get
about to
out.
get hit by a train.
There's always a time.
He's got to lose part of himself. What are you willing to
Oh.
sacrifice?
Oh, yeah.
There's always a ticking clock. Where
The
it's
key
you
is
gotta get
inside
out.
your butthole. Yeah.
Right,
Oh,
yeah.
that's okay. Fair enough. I think the real shift, both in this franchise and in his career, is this stars Chris Rock. What do you guys make of this kind of late career? Well, maybe late career. Who knows? He could act till he's 90. Kind of shift into drama that he's done with this and now, or Fargo and now this.
Yeah, I guess maybe it helps that because it got delayed a year because of the pandemic, people saw Fargo first. So now this doesn't have to be like, oh, Chris Rock shifting the drama because we just saw him do it in a very acclaimed series. I think we see this with a lot of comedians as time goes on. They want to shake it up. They want to show that they're not just a funny man, which I get. And a lot of comedians I think do make for good dramatic actors because they immerse themselves in characters. So I saw some people saying that the trailer they couldn't help but feel like it. It felt like a Saw parody sketch with Chris Rock in it, which I get, especially because the trailer shows him always like yelling, like, we gotta catch him.
There's one scene where he's holding a gun and he's going around a corner and he's making like a confused face, and it does kind of look like the sort of face he would make in a stand-up comedy
special,
bit about being confused. Like if his reaction to something someone said was confusion, that's the face he would make. But otherwise, it didn't really take me out of it. I have to be honest.
Yeah, contextually, I think like once we're watching the movie, unless he's like hamming it up and looking at the camera, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, after seeing Fargo, which by the way is my least favorite season of Fargo, but that still means it's better than most TV. Is that he can obviously pull off drama, but why? When you're, it's like I don't know. Well, all the sports metaphors are failing me right now. It's like somebody who's good at one sport. Michael Jordan playing baseball. Like Chris Rock is one of the funniest people to ever live. To not use him to at least give you some levity and some like what the F reaction shots and to do a little bit of what we know he's so great at. It doesn't seem like a waste, but it also I sympathize with the audience who's like waiting for the funny part to happen. I don't think
you're overlooking.
He should be ashamed of being funny.
I feel like you're overlooking his stirring dramatic work as Pootie Tang's father. Personally, that's how I feel.
I'm going back to New Jack City, man.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say. Is I feel like not only does his comedy involve a lot of performance, but he's been in dramatic sort of movies in smaller parts and stuff.
Yeah, never at the center until now. Yeah,
never starring.
Yeah.
Like this is it's
definitely
definitely
I really like Top 5, but that was just like a stand-up special that happened. He happened to be walking around New York,
right?
As he was,
this is definitely a shift from being like, especially being like Nurse Betty, where he's like the funny guy in a more dramatic movie. Like this is a change, but I don't know. I think it's pretty welcome. I agree that Fargo was not the best season, but I wasn't sure how I felt about his character at first. Then by the end of the season, he really won me over. I thought it was actually a pretty strong performance by the last few episodes when he had like more to do.
Okay, well, back to the dark, twisted spiral we're spiraling down into. So Jigsaw, I'm sure he's long dead in the continuity of this movie, or is he?
Since the third one.
We've
there's
seen
prequels,
him
and you never know.
It's not like they were very specific about how dead he is.
2 words, head transplant. But he's there's a secret apprentice.
Constantly. This guy had more apprentices who some knew about each other, some didn't. I mean, this guy had quite
I think it was
network.
you could get like your associate's degree at like Phoenix Online College.
Weirdly, it's Piers
Jigsaw.
Morgan in this one. I didn't see that coming.
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, I just off of the trailer, and Ryan agrees with me in the script. Sam Jackson's secretly Jigsaw, right? He's the bad guy.
Yeah, I'll take credit for that one. I do think so. The funny thing is, the first teaser a year ago only showed Samuel Jackson in what looked like flashbacks. So I'm like, oh, maybe he's just flashbacks. Now we're like, oh no, he is in present day, but still probably only had to work a few days. And so it does feel like, okay, big actor. He's the father of the main character. He knows he has a history here. That seems like the way to go, right? Like, Jigsaw taught me something 20 years ago.
It was almost like I was less willing to believe this, but then they showed the shot of him in the death trap, and like that's classic Saw. Like they'll give us a scene with the character in a death trap so we don't suspect them, just to reveal that it was a fake out all along. Like they love that bit. So as soon as I saw him in the death trap, I was like, oh, this is the fake out scene where we're
and he's like an ex-cop, and Chris Rock says, oh, we can't trust anybody on the force. So yeah. I think the smart money is on Sam Jackson. But
Well,
is it so obvious that now we should bet
mean,
somewhere else?
Right.
It's really, it's got to be one of the famous people who's in it, because it would, it's like Laurie Metcalf Scream 2 rules. Like nobody's gonna, you don't give the main nemesis role to one of the people we haven't heard of, and there's only
It could be a cameo, like I'm imagining something like the end of Alita, where it's like Ed Norton standing on top of a futuristic frisbee city,
looking down at them with
Looking down.
binoculars. Yeah.
I think it'll actually be Ed Norton in that same costume.
That's my one other thought would be, if they really want to like curveball us, it's bring back somebody from the previous Saw films who we think is dead, or got Shawnee Smith or Costas Mandylor or Carrie West, or somebody we've long since not suspected, and bring them back. And it's like, you got me,
For all the Saw faithful.
It was Donnie Wahlberg all along.
So this is now continuing. I think 2 comedians makes it a trend. Jordan Peele has transitioned into horror. He's producing the new Candyman and Get Out and Us and stuff. Chris Rock is producing the next Saw movie. Do you have any comedians who you would like to see? There's also there's like the Halloween reboot was
McBride,
Danny McBride,
Danny McBride,
right. This is definitely a trend.
What comedian do you guys want to see take on a horror film next?
I want to. John Mulaney should produce a new Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He also stars.
He would do a good like American Psycho style horror movie of like. Something's missing. There's some kind of disconnect
Kroll
there.
in that, because Nick Kroll would have to be in that too if it's a John Mulaney movie, and Nick Kroll in a horror movie also just feels like there's a lot of potential.
I think they just did the Oh Hello guys were actually serial murderers. I think
Right.
that would actually make a lot of sense.
Yeah, Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer, they've got like a bunch of podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
They're great stand-ups, but they're both like, if you drop them being comedians, they both just look like scary. Like you can just imagine seeing those 2 guys coming at you and be like, oh God, what's happening? I feel like they would be good in a horror film.
Like Brian Posehn or
exactly right. It's all of that. Just
Judah
like,
Friedlander.
Those guys are ready for like Rob Zombie horror movies for sure.
Yeah, exactly. All the big burly hard, like if you put them in overalls, but one of the 2 was not done and was flapped over, they were kind of dirty. You'd be like, oh God, what's about to happen to me? Exactly.
They're about to eat you for dinner.
Benzentian says Bill Hader. That's another probably obvious one.
Yeah.
He was in It Part 2, so he
that's
already
true. Yeah,
dabbled. Already dabbled a little.
Bill Hader producing Leprechaun. Go.
I mean, I could see Patton Oswalt doing like great grindhouse stuff if he's like producing and writing, and he can give himself a part.
There is a movie with him called Big Fan that is
Big Fan.
But he's like, he does have like a creepy, unsettling vibe in that. So I think you could for sure pull it off.
Kristen Wiig,
or of course, what'd you say, Ryan?
I think Kristen Wiig and Tiffany Haddish are the other ones who I think are realistic because they are big performers already in movies and would be able to react to stuff.
Tiffany Haddish in Bad Trip is pretty scary.
Yeah.
If you remove it from the context.
And I think finally, if you got Jeff Dunham an extra spooky puppet, I mean that could be Creep City. Look out, spooky. Okay. Well, thank you for coming down this dark, twisted spiral with us. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and like, and hit the bell, or else your computer will put a spike through your sternum and then spin your intestines around like a merry-go-round if you don't hit the bell, or you can chew through your urethra to find the escape key.
It's Jigsaw, in fairness, it's less like edgy, and it's more like, I'm helping you. You got to be a little more like, I believe in you, Barry. You can get out of this. You just have to rip your sternum out. Like more like that, like subtly encouraging. He's trying to help.
This is because you didn't social distance.
I just like how the movies went on. It just got so weird because it's like, you care too much. Like you're trying to help people too much. I will teach you a lesson by making you do horrific things to yourself.
Yeah,
let them die, YOLO.
It kind of, well, you just got to figure he's doing so much planning. He's working so far ahead, like picking targets. It's got to we got to, efficiency. This is
Men will literally survive elaborate death traps before they'll go to therapy. Yeah. That's all I got to say about
So true. So true.
There's other news, other things dropped today, or yesterday. The Bad Batch. We got a full trailer for The Bad Batch. It's a Clone Wars spinoff. It's getting a 70-minute premiere, a big old premiere on May 4th. You know what that date means. And then we're going to get new episodes each Friday. Are either of you Clone Wars peoples?
I'm a big Clone Wars person. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I also like covered the show a ton when I worked at IGN, like and interviewed Filoni a lot. So I have a lot of love for the Clone Wars. And I'm excited for this because Clone Wars is such a strange case because it got truncated, it got canceled, it came back, they got to do a final season, but they didn't ever get to do everything they would have done. So by getting this spinoff, it's kind of cool to get to continue that part of Star Wars, a little bit. There's no way Filoni is as hands-on with this show as he was with Clone Wars because he's doing some other stuff right now with Mandalorian. But I do like that we get to see more of this. And I'm guessing that 70-minute premiere, the way we see in the trailer, I'm guessing that we will see Order 66 from the perspective of the Bad Batch in the 70 minutes and kind of see how they end up on the run and hunted because I'm guessing they don't have the chip in their head. So they don't turn on the Jedi, and then we'll see what happens afterwards.
They must not, because they're fighting the Empire throughout this show. So I'm assuming.
They might just feel really bad about it.
Wow, that would be
maybe they kill a lot of Jedi.
That's
and
a dark pilot.
It's kind of
greatest of all.
I don't feel great about that.
I don't know. They're good guys, Spencer. They're not going to.
Look, I know I'm going to have to watch all of Clone Wars eventually for Honest Trailers. Spoiler alert. But if one hasn't, do you think that you could start with the Bad Batch?
I for sure think so, because the Bad Batch themselves were only in one arc of the final season last year, which basically was a backdoor pilot. There's one character in here, the character Echo, who was like a recurring character through Clone Wars, but it's I think that they're going to make this accessible for people who have not seen Clone Wars. As long as you know Revenge of the Sith, I think you're probably good.
Yeah, the smartest thing.
Tried to forget. I still know it.
The smartest thing they did overall with Clone Wars was, rather than make it like one character's journey that you follow straight through, it was kind of like it branched out into a bunch of different areas of the Star Wars universe that were happening all at that time. So it gave them a ton of like outs and avenues for potential spin-offs. Like this is just one of several shows. And I guess The Mandalorian in some ways also kind of builds off of the legacy of Clone Wars.
Yeah, I remember there was those episodes they actually showed at Celebration one year that were about like the young Jedi in training, and that was almost a spinoff, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It almost feels like there's like some seasons, there's like 3 or 4 arcs going through Clone Wars, each of which could probably spring off in some way into a new show.
Yeah, it looks super good. I mean, as someone who's not very familiar with the series, I think the animation looks better than it used to me.
That's what I was gonna say. I really like the storytelling. Obviously, I feel like Filoni is a guy who gets what would be cool in the Star Wars universe and how to tell these kinds of long form stories, and that really comes out in the Clone Wars and his shows. But I struggle with the animation in Clone Wars. It just feels a little like cheap and TV to me. And I know that it's generational, because like the animation I grew up watching on TV would look terrible to the young people of today. So like, I get that it's not, I'm not saying one is better, one is worse. It's not objective. It just like doesn't look that good to me. But watching the Bad Batch trailer, I did not have that visceral reaction.
I'm saying one's better and one's worse. Hand-drawn animation has character just inherent in the medium, whereas these they look like generated models that like there's just a stiffness to it that you don't get when you're. This looks good. This looks better than the Clone Wars.
That is how I feel, and I get that it's different perspectives and what you grew up with. Some look better than others, and I'm just like a nerd for that like 90s animation style that was like Batman the Animated Series. Is like nothing ever looks better to me than that, because that's what I got used to when I was 13.
It took me a little while to get into the Clone Wars visual. They did this weird thing where it was like CG animation, but they wanted it to almost look like puppets, like their faces and stuff. But I will say I rewatched all of Clone Wars before the final season last year, and you can discernibly see the animation get better. And you have to think that season 1 to season 7 was 13 years because of the cancellation or revival. So that final season of Clone Wars, the one done for Disney Plus, looks like Bad Batch, because it was like, so much more elevated. The characters still look the same, but the animation around them looked amazing. So if you do that, Spencer, when you do that watch of it all, I think it'll be interesting for you to see like the 2007 animation versus where they ended.
Right. And we made a lot of fun with it when we did the Clone Wars, just the intro movie honest trailer. Of like, it's obviously very rough even compared to like season 3 of the show. Like it's a night and day kind of comparison.
But then the Gennady Clone Wars shorts. Those are incredible. That's
I
like one
love
of my
those.
favorite Star Wars things ever. So, anyways,
on Disney Plus now. They just came to Disney Plus last week.
This
My,
concludes
my
the
last
segment.
funny observation. Oh, go for it.
I was just gonna say this concludes the segment. Old man yells at new animation. But
My
go
only
ahead.
last thing to
Go
say
ahead,
about
Eric.
this was I thought it was funny because you might not have recognized him, Spencer, but Saw Gerrera is in this trailer.
Really?
Voiced by Andrew Kashino, who voiced him on Clone Wars, where he was introduced. Except when they had him come back on Star Wars Rebels, it was Forrest Whitaker to match the movie. So that means there's basically like 10 to 15 years for this character's voice to shift to Whitaker. And I hope they do it. They hope they do an episode where he like and he like comes
they'll
out
put
of it.
one of those other like in Rogue One or whatever, where he's putting the parasites on people. They'll
Right.
put one in his mouth. and
Yeah.
it's-
I'm really hoping the
Ooh,
last.
nice.
Like how I'm hoping the last episode of Obi-Wan, he just like suddenly like they just put like
That's
full old Alec Guinness makeup on him just for the last episode.
He drinks out of the wrong grill cup and then
He's like,
walks
"Oh,
out.
no."
Oh, you've chosen poorly.
I'm old Ben now.
Okay, a couple. Look, this is not even a story, so I'm just gonna say it, and we're gonna move on. Okay, some movies move dates. You know the drill at this point. Mortal Kombat moved back a week. Venom 2 moved back a week, and the Hugh Jackman sci-fi movie Reminiscence, which is the first time I'm hearing about it, moved a week earlier. And The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is opening 2 months earlier. Okay, so this is like, there's still some late in the game shuffling as box office opens back up for the moment.
I'm baffled by The Hitman's Wife's Body. Like people this is a money laundering scheme. There can't be enough people went to the theater to see The Hitman's Bodyguard for there to be a legit.
I mean, it
full
made
theatrical
money.
I'm looking it up.
How often do comedies even get full theatrical sequels? Like,
I mean, it's
crazy.
Lionsgate. It's Lionsgate. It made a 176 million worldwide on a very low budget. So
my
a
God,
budget of 30
people
million.
love that Hitman's Bodyguard, I guess.
There you go.
Jeez.
The funny thing I'll only say about these release dates is that almost all of them are because of Disney moving all their movies. If you look at what happened, it's like Shang-Chi moved to September 3rd. Venom didn't want to open as close, so they pushed a week later. And that Hugh Jackman movie Reminiscence was supposed to open the same date. And so they moved a week earlier. And then they put Free Guy, the Ryan Reynolds movie, 1 week before Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. So Lionsgate's like, screw that. We don't want to be a week away from the other Ryan Reynolds movie. And they moved 2 months earlier. So it is funny to see like everyone kind of scattered because Disney made these moves a week ago. And
that sci-fi one with Hugh Jackman, Reminiscence. I remember I've heard of it. It's the feature debut of Lisa Joy, who co-created Westworld. That's why that's a.
Cool. And then Mortal Kombat just seems funny because I saw people say something on Twitter that I'm like, I think this is dead right, which is they probably did it because they realized Snyder Cut had come out, that they would be less than a month opening Mortal Kombat, and so you could have 1 month of HBO Max and you
get
still
Snyder
get
Cut, Godzilla,
and Mortal Kombat. And so they're like, oh, which was bad planning to begin with when you don't have that many big things this year. So I think they're like, oh, we got to make people get 1 more month.
You got to milk that free trial.
Yeah. Make them sign up for April.
Smart money. All right, Game of Thrones, the spectacular. Game of Thrones, turn off the dark.
Yes.
It's in the works from George R.R. Martin, because what else would he be doing?
Well, okay, he's coming up with a story, and then the guy who wrote the play,
he's curse-childing it.
Yeah, the guy wrote the 1984 production a few years ago that was really acclaimed. He's actually writing it.
It's still time out of his day.
Yeah, he's gonna be like throwing some ideas out there.
Okay. The Broadway production features Ned Stark, Jaime Lannister, and more during the Great Tourney at Harrenhal.
We don't know.
So
they haven't said which characters. They've said.
Look, I'm just reading the script here. Where's this all coming from?
It takes place at this tourney that's mentioned in the books. That's
I'm familiar with the tourney. Yeah,
right.
So these are the characters. Yeah.
So we know that those characters are there, but they haven't confirmed that they're going to be in the show.
Well, it'd be weird if they did it about that tourney and it was about like the guy cleaning the slop out of the horse stables.
I'm just trying to get it right, but yes, Oberyn Martell is there, and Jaime Lannister is there, and Ned Stark is there, and Robert Baratheon is there. So we can.
This is the whole Helen of Troy, he gives the rose and it launches the whole war eventually. It plants the seeds for all the problems.
Exactly. Correct.
I'm familiar with his work, and I am not looking forward to going back because I'm done with it.
HBO is dismayed to hear that because there's a full network's worth of shows coming still in the world of Thrones.
It's just at this point, it just seems farcical how many different things they're announcing and that he is attached to. Again, yes, he's not full time on any of these, but he's involved with overseeing, story by, producing, while not putting out those books.
And it's not even just Game of Thrones. He's got wild cards going at Peacock. He's got 2 different shows going at HBO Max that are not Thrones related. Like, he's got many.
He's always doing these anthology collections.
Fingers in many pies. Mr.
He's got to watch every New York Jets game and blog about that.
He's a very busy man. He's
very busy, very intentionally busy man. I don't know. Like, part of me is just morbidly curious about like what seeing it on stage. It sounds like a terrible Ren Fair idea. No offense to Ren Fairs, but this just sounds like it's going to be really bad live. It doesn't feel like it would translate. It'll be silly. Maybe they could add some songs or some jousting or something, but like, I mean, the reason Cursed Child was actually, I'll stick up for Cursed Child because when you see that live, there's magic.
A spectacle. It is a spectacle.
Magic in front of you, and live magic is cool, and like reading about it sucks. So I don't see what.
I'm sure they're gonna come up with like how do you do jousting on stage? Like they'll come up with something, and they're gonna recreate Harrenhal. I'm sure, and it's Game of Thrones. There is fancifulness to the world. Like I feel like they will come up with ways to make the stagecraft worthwhile. Will it be a good show? I mean, who knows? But it will definitely be silly because Broadway is very silly, and like I'm sure this will be just as silly as all the other.
This is a straight play. This isn't a musical. I mean, that would be funny.
Yet.
Goofy Broadway plays that are beautiful.
We are the watchers on the wall.
I mean, the other Broadway show that's in the news today is that they did a musical about Princess Diana that's going to be on Netflix and then open on Broadway. So like that's the competing Broadway story is a musical.
I mean, Broadway is victim to the same thing that movies are, which like everything's now based on an IP. It's like you have to have SpongeBob the musical, you have to have this and that. Like.
Shrek ruined it for everybody.
I was actually very sad that I got to New York like a week after that SpongeBob musical closed because I was going to see it, damn it, but it didn't happen.
So sorry for your loss. All right, let's answer some.
Musical. It was okay.
Let's answer some questions before we get out of here. Alan Preslin writes, I'm sure responding to our Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard diversion. What movie character would you like for your own bodyguard?
I mean, I guess I'll just go with the Terminator, right? You know,
I'm going to make it more interesting. What movie character would you like for your wife's bodyguard?
For your hitman's wife's bodyguard? I mean, a Terminator's also probably a good, but maybe like like a Terminatrix. Because she's gonna fall in love with
T3.
I was gonna say, they're gonna if movie rules apply, they will ultimately fall in love because you can't not fall in love with your bodyguard.
Right.
Like I could not have my wife.
She would also fall in love with a Terminatrix. Let's be honest. So I don't know. Maybe a liquid metal Terminator.
My wife has a thing for Jason Statham, so it can't be any of his characters.
But also, those guys are all like rogue. Like you can't trust any Jason Statham characters to be a bodyguard. I don't. Their number one task is always the transporting, and you come second.
Yeah. I'm going to go Steven Seagal because there's no way that anyone is falling for a current era Steven Seagal.
Present day Steven Seagal?
Yeah, present day Steven Seagal. But he
as
can
long
also.
As all the threats are
I don't know what a great bodyguard he'd be, though. But
chest up. If the threats come in
he
this
can flip
range,
you. Yeah. He only needs to move like a few inches
yeah.
in each direction and you'll go flying.
If he could do this to you and take you out, you're fine. There's no problem there. I mean, I would go.
Jared Johnson asks, is anyone watching? Oh, did you not give your
I
bodyguard
didn't.
pick?
I was just gonna say Godzilla or Kong, either one.
Oh, there you go.
Oh yeah,
that's a good pick.
Yeah.
Who's gonna mess
wait
with
outside? Jared Johnson asks, is anyone watching Amazon's Invincible? I'm not, but that's one of my favorite comics, so I will definitely be checking that out.
I am, and I never read the comic, but I quite enjoyed the show that I've seen so far. So
I'm always very cynical. Every time there's a new show that's like superheroes, but it's edgy, I'm always like, ugh, I'm so sick of this. And I did it with The Boys, and I did it again with Invincible, and then I always end up liking the shows and being a total hypocrite. And it has happened again. I was super like, oh, I'm not gonna lie. Oh, what if superheroes were violent and real? But it's really well done and compelling and a lot of fun. And the voice cast is incredible. And I was just talking about how much of a easy sell I am for that particular style of 90s TV animation. And it's like the most beautiful version of that you could possibly conceive. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Let's just go out on this one. These are always appreciated questions, is human animal fights. In honor of Godzilla versus Kong, which would you rather fight, a gorilla or a Komodo dragon?
Ooh.
I mean, Komodo dragon, probably, right? Like, unless it's
I
a particularly
feel like we have done this question before is the funniest thing, but like not Godzilla versus Kong related.
I feel like gorilla versus Komodo dragon. It's almost done. Like a gorilla is so much big. Like a Komodo dragon, it feels like you could sort of like.
But aren't they poisonous? That's a silent killer.
I mean,
I feel like I
those
get an upper hand.
jaws. Like it would be like being bitten by like a mini croc or something. Like they're mean bastards. But a gorilla could just like.
I mean, the question is, which would you rather fight? This is
I'm just
you
very scared of the idea of being anywhere near a gorilla. I feel like they would just destroy you instantly. Whereas like a Komodo dragon, at least you got like a shot of avoiding it for a bit. You know, maybe you get a kick in there too.
That's what I think too, right? If that Komodo dragon gets you, you're screwed. But I just feel like I'd have a chance. I could get the upper hand. I could get the higher ground. Can't with the gorilla.
Yeah, if there was a gorilla like in this room right now, I would just assume I would be dead right away. Like there's no way.
But I feel like I could reason with the gorilla, you know. I could bond with it.
Amy from Congo, you could be Amy, good gorilla. And she'd be like, I understand, yes.
But the Komodo dragons, that cold reptile brain knows only murder, and there's no way.
We all know.
Well, that's our
like atomic breath. That would be really bad.
We all know.
Yes, Ryan.
The gorilla for sure.
Sure. That's for him to defend his
Is the gorilla wearing like a hat and like a collar with a tie, like a Hanna-Barbera gorilla? Because then maybe I could be like, Magilla, you don't want to do this.
That ends our movie news show. That's the end of our show about movie and television news. SJU. Tune in next time for more insightful content and thoughtful discussion like today. Thank you, Lon. Thank you, Eric. And thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.